Dr. Elias Wren walked slowly down the corridor, a cup of tea in his hand, his mind already lost in equations and resonance readings. He liked mornings like this, calm, predictable, filled with quiet purpose. Elias was a xenobiologist, a man who preferred data to people. He studied living energy, the kind that came from beyond the visible world. His work was focused on something humans called the fracture. It was a shimmering wall of light that floated just outside the station, like frozen lightning stretching through space. No one truly understood what it was. Some said it was a portal. Others said it was alive. For Elias, it was simply beautiful. He spent hours watching it from the observation window. The way it pulsed, the way its colors shifted. Sometimes it felt as if the light was breathing. This morning, as he entered Lab 7, his assistant Marin greeted him with her usual tired smile. "Morning, Doctor. The fracture's energy levels rose again last night," she said, handing him a tablet. "It's been stable for weeks, but now there's a new pattern, like it's reacting to something." Elias frowned slightly. "Reacting to what?" Marin shrugged. "That's what we have to find out." He walked over to the main screen showing the live feed from the outer probes. The fracture glowed softly, waves of color rippling across its surface. He could almost feel it calling out. By midday, the lab was alive with activity. Technicians moved around the circular chamber, checking readings and calibrating equipment. Elias stood by the containment ring, a tall silver structure meant to catch fragments of fracture energy for study. "This is test number 42, Marin said into the recorder. "Activating energy bridge in 3, 2, 1. A gentle hum filled the air. Light shimmered within the containment ring, forming a small sphere, bright but harmless. Elias watched closely. The readings were steady. Then something unexpected happened. The fracture outside the station pulsed suddenly, brighter than it ever had before. The lab lights flickered. Alarms began to sound. Marin gasped as the containment ring flared white. "Power surge, shut it down," she cried. Elias ran to the control panel, pressing the override. The humming grew louder and the light turned into a blinding column that filled the room. Then, just as suddenly as it began, everything went silent. When his eyes adjusted, the sphere inside the ring had vanished. In its place lay a faint, shimmering figure on the floor, human-shaped but not entirely human. Elias froze. The figure was breathing. She was like light turned into flesh. Her skin glowed faintly, almost transparent. Her hair shimmered like silver dust, and her eyes, when they opened, were deep and filled with colors that did not exist in any human spectrum. The medical team rushed in, confused and speechless. "What is she?" Marin whispered. Elias didn't answer. He approached slowly, kneeling beside the figure. Her breathing was shallow, her expression tense with pain. Her voice, when she tried to speak, was soft but trembling. "Where am I?" Her words were clear but carried a strange echo, as if spoken by more than one voice. "You're safe," Elias said gently. "You're on Epsilon Lyrae 4. My name is Dr. Elias Wren. You were caught in a fracture event." She looked at him with confusion, then fear. "I fell through. The bridge. It broke." Elias's mind raced. She wasn't human. That much was clear. But she wasn't like any alien species humanity had recorded either. She was something new, something impossible. Before he could ask more, the commander of the station arrived, a tall woman named Captain Aisha Verne. Her tone was sharp. "Dr. Wren, isolate the specimen. No one touches it until security clears the area." Elias wanted to protest, but he knew protocol. He stepped back as the med droids carefully lifted the figure and placed her onto a floating stretcher. Her gaze met his once more, filled with fear and something else, trust. Hours later, Elias sat in the observation room, staring through the glass at the strange woman resting on the medical bed. She had been stabilized, though her energy readings were unlike anything they had seen. Marin entered quietly. "They're calling her Subject Sarai. The captain wants a full biological scan." Elias sighed. "She's not a specimen, Marin. She's alive, conscious and scared." Marin hesitated. "You think she understands us?" "She spoke to me," Elias said softly. "She said she fell through a bridge. Maybe the fracture is some kind of connection between worlds, and she was pulled through." He watched Sarai's chest rise and fall in slow rhythm. Her skin no longer glowed as brightly and she looked almost human now. But there was a fragility to her, as if her form was held together by sheer will. Elias felt something stir in him. Empathy, curiosity, and something deeper he couldn't define. That night, when the lab lights dimmed and most of the staff left, Elias returned to the observation room. He didn't like how the others spoke of Sarai, like she was a tool or a test subject. He tapped the glass softly, wondering if she could sense it. To his surprise, her eyes opened. "You came back," she said quietly. Elias blinked, startled. "You can hear me?" "I can feel you," she replied. "Your world hums with sound. It hurts, but it's beautiful." He stepped closer to the glass. "You're in pain. Can I help?" Sarai tilted her head, studying him as if he were the strange one. "You wish to help one you do not know?" "It's what I do," he said simply. "I heal. Or at least I try." For a moment, her lips curved into a faint smile. "Your kind is curious. We thought you were cold, machines wrapped in flesh, but you are warm." Elias couldn't help but smile back. "Not all of us are cold." A soft light flickered across her skin again, pulsing gently. Elias realized the light changed when she spoke, like her emotions were visible. Days turned into weeks. Under Elias's care, Sarai began to recover. She told him fragments of her story in short, broken sentences. Her people, the Lithari, were beings of energy who existed in harmony through something they called the flow. They had discovered the fracture as a way to reach other realms. But when she tried to stabilize it, the connection collapsed, pulling her into human space. She was trapped in a body she didn't fully understand. Eating, sleeping, even breathing were strange to her. Elias helped her learn slowly, with patience and kindness. He taught her to drink water, to walk, to speak more clearly. She in turn shared insights about the flow, how energy and emotion were two sides of the same wave. "When you feel," she explained, "your world bends with you. It listens." Elias wrote notes endlessly, but the science became less important than the connection between them. He began to look forward to their talks, the quiet laughter that escaped her when she tried human expressions and got them slightly wrong. One evening, as they sat by the observation window, Sarai looked out at the fracture glowing in the distance. "It calls to me," she said softly. "It misses me. But it also feels afraid." Elias followed her gaze. "Afraid of what?" "Of being alone." Her words struck him deeply. He had often felt the same, alone in his work, surrounded by people yet apart from them. "You're not alone anymore," he said gently. Sarai turned to him, eyes reflecting starlight. "Then neither are you." But beyond the glass, the fracture began to shimmer more violently. Its energy patterns grew unstable again. Elias noticed it on his instruments, but said nothing. A small part of him wondered if the fracture was reacting to Sarai, if her bond with this world was somehow changing both realms. As he left the lab that night, he paused and looked back at her sleeping form. The gentle light beneath her skin flickered with calm rhythm, like a heartbeat. He didn't know yet that their meeting would change everything, not just for them, but for both worlds connected by pain, and soon, by understanding. The next morning, the lab was quiet again. The sun of Epsilon Lyrae 4 glimmered over the curved surface of the station, reflecting in long silver streaks across the polished floors. Dr. Elias Wren entered with his usual calm, but inside he felt something different, an unusual warmth, a sense of anticipation he could not explain. Sarai sat upright on the medical bed, her silver hair catching the morning light. Her eyes, full of strange colors, scanned the room with curiosity and caution. "Good morning," Elias said softly, careful not to startle her. Sarai blinked. "I remember night." Her voice was calm, almost serene. "You watch me." "Not like others," Elias nodded. "I want to help you, Sarai. Not just to survive, but to live." Her lips curved into a small smile, and Elias felt a strange sense of relief. The connection between them was growing. It was not just about healing her body. It was about understanding her and perhaps understanding himself. Weeks passed. Elias taught Sarai to walk steadily, to hold objects, and to drink liquids without spilling. Each small success was a victory. She learned quickly, though not like a human child. Her mind was sharper, more attuned to energy and subtle sensations than anyone Elias had ever met. One afternoon, he guided her to the observation window. The fracture pulsed outside, calm yet alive like a sleeping giant. "Do you see it?" he asked, "the way it moves." Sarai's eyes softened. "It feels lonely and curious. You feel that?" Elias asked, astonished. "Yes," she said simply. "It feels what I feel, and now it feels you." Elias realized then that her connection to the fracture was deeper than anyone had imagined. She was not just a visitor. She was a bridge. Every emotion, every small thought she had, seemed to echo in the shimmering wall of light outside. In the following days, Sarai began speaking more freely. She told Elias about the Litheri, her own people. "They live in harmony," she explained, her voice calm and melodic. "Our minds are one with the flow. We share joy, sorrow, and understanding. Pain is felt by all, but so is care." Elias listened, fascinated. He had studied countless species, but nothing prepared him for a being who could feel not only her own pain, but the echo of pain across her entire species. "You want to teach me?" he asked carefully. Sarai tilted her head. "You feel, but you hide it. I can help you listen. Not with your ears, but with your heart." Elias was silent. He realized she was not only teaching him about herself, but about himself, about humanity. Days turned into weeks. The station staff began to notice a change in Elias. His attention was not just on readings or reports, but on understanding Sarai, on listening to her thoughts and feelings. Some whispered that he was becoming soft, but Elias didn't care. For the first time, his work had meaning beyond science. Sarai, too, changed. She laughed more often, her silver hair shimmering with faint pulses of light when she was happy. She explored the station slowly, discovering small joys. How water tasted, how sunlight reflected on glass, even the gentle warmth of a simple teacup. Elias watched her with fascination. "You are learning quickly," he said one evening as she balanced carefully on her new legs. "I am alive," she said simply, "and life teaches." There was a softness in her tone that spoke of understanding, of acceptance, and something else. Hope. One evening, Elias guided Sarai to the station's small garden dome. It was filled with plants from Earth, adapted to the artificial environment. Sarai knelt beside a cluster of ferns, touching the leaves delicately. "They feel different," she said. "Not like the flow, but alive. They speak without words." "Yes," Elias said, smiling. "Everything that lives has its own voice." Sarai's gaze lifted to him, her eyes filled with questions. "Do humans listen?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "Often we are too busy, too distracted. But if we listen, we can understand more than we think." She nodded, absorbing his words. "Then perhaps your kind is capable of more than I thought." Elias felt a warmth in his chest he could not name. It was pride, yes, but also something deeper. A bond, fragile but growing, between two beings from completely different worlds. But as their connection grew, so did the fracture's activity. It pulsed more frequently, stronger than before, sending subtle vibrations through the station. Instruments recorded spikes of energy, but no one could explain them. Elias watched the readings and felt a quiet fear. He suspected that Sarai's presence and her emotions were linked to the fracture. "Sarai," he said one evening, "I think the fracture reacts to you. Maybe it senses what you feel." She looked at him, calm yet worried. "Yes, but it is not just me. It is us, together," Elias swallowed. "Together?" She nodded. "Your feelings, my feelings. They flow into it. If we are calm, it is calm. If we are afraid, it trembles." He realized then that their connection was no longer private. It affected the very fabric of this strange interdimensional bridge. Their emotions, human and Lithari, were creating echoes across the worlds. One afternoon, the commander called Elias to the observation deck. Captain Isha Verne stood with folded arms, her expression serious but not unkind. "Dr. Wren, we have monitored the fracture. Its activity is unusual. You must prepare Sarai for transfer back into containment protocols. We cannot risk instability." Elias hesitated. "Captain, she is stabilizing the fracture. She is helping us understand it. Removing her now could, I do not know, cause harm." Captain Isha sighed. "I know you care for her, Doctor. But this is protocol. We cannot allow curiosity to endanger the station or the fracture. She must be returned to controlled observation." Elias clenched his fists quietly. He wanted to argue, to refuse, but he also understood the danger. The fracture was alive in its own way, unpredictable. And yet, He couldn't bear the thought of separating her from him, not when she was so fragile, so human now in her own way. That night, Elias entered the observation room. Sarai was seated by the window, watching the fracture pulse in distant silence. "They want to take me," she said softly. "I must go back. But I do not wish to leave." "Not yet." Elias knelt beside her. "I understand. I want you to stay too. But it is not safe and—" "Maybe it is not your choice." Sarai's eyes glimmered with faint silver light. "Perhaps the choice is not mine. But I choose you in this moment." "And you choose me, do you not?" Elias felt a lump in his throat. He nodded. "I do. More than I knew I could." For a long moment they sat together in silence, feeling the pulse of the fracture, their own hearts, and the quiet bond that had grown between them. The next day, Elias guided Sarai to the lab's energy interface. It was a large, circular platform designed to stabilize energy fields. "Once you step onto this, you will return partially to your realm," he explained. "It may feel strange, uncomfortable, but it will stabilize the fracture." Sarai nodded. "I know. I feel it calling, and I must go." Elias hesitated. "Promise me, you will not forget what we learned, what we shared." Her eyes shimmered brighter. "I will not. And neither will you. You have learned to listen, to feel, to heal beyond the body. That is the gift of connection." With a soft hum, Sarai stepped onto the platform. Light surrounded her, soft at first, then brighter, pulsing with the rhythm of her emotions. Elias reached out instinctively, feeling the warmth of her energy in his hands even through the force field. "Goodbye, friend," she whispered. Elias watched as the light swirled around her until finally she was gone. The platform was empty. The fracture outside had calmed, its pulses steady, its colors gentle. Elias sat quietly for hours staring at the observation window. Though she was gone, her presence remained, in the subtle shimmer of the fracture, in the quiet warmth of the station, and in his own heart. He realized that their time together had changed him. He understood now that science alone could not heal or explain everything. Compassion, patience, and connection were just as powerful. And somewhere beyond the bridge of worlds, Sarai felt the same. She carried a piece of humanity with her, just as he carried a piece of her. The fracture was stable now, a living bridge between realms. And the echo of empathy between human and Letheri, between worlds, remained, unbroken and alive. Ren, the station felt quieter, emptier. The hum of machines no longer brought comfort. It was a reminder of what had been lost. Elias spent his days studying the fracture from a distance, carefully analyzing data left behind. The readings were stable now, smoother than anyone had ever seen. The light pulsed steadily, gentle as a heartbeat, almost as if it remembered Sarai's presence and carried it forward. Yet despite the calm, he felt an emptiness he could not fill. Elias had returned to his personal routine, walking the observation decks each morning, drinking tea as he had before. But now every ripple of light from the fracture reminded him of her, the silver-haired being who had brought warmth and understanding to a place that had once been only machines and experiments. He often found himself talking aloud to the empty lab. "You taught me to listen," he whispered one morning, staring at the soft shimmer of the fracture. "To feel beyond what my eyes see, and to care." There was no reply, of course, but Elias felt something in the gentle rhythm of the light, a quiet reassurance, like a faint echo of her voice one evening. As Elias adjusted the sensors by the observation window, he noticed a faint anomaly in the energy readings. A soft glow, almost imperceptible at first, shimmered on the edge of the fracture. He froze. "Could it be?" he muttered to himself. The glow grew slowly, taking shape, not a figure but a presence, luminous and pure. The fracture pulsed in harmony with it, gentle and warm, almost as if acknowledging the visitor. Elias held his breath. The air in the observation room seemed to hum with expectation. Then he heard it, a soft, melodious voice, familiar and comforting. "Elias!" His heart leapt. It was her, Sarai, he whispered, unsure if it was truly real or a trick of the energy field. "Yes," the voice said, carried on the light itself. "I am here. Not as I was, not as you knew me, but I am here." Elias stepped closer to the observation window, staring at the ethereal glow. He could feel her presence in every pulse of energy. every flicker of the fracture's surface. It was her. She had found a way to exist between worlds, free from the limitations of physical form, yet connected to him and to this place. For hours, Elias and Sarai communicated through the soft pulses of light. She could not speak as humans did, but through her energy she shared thoughts, emotions, and understanding. He felt her joy at being free, her gratitude for his kindness, and her deep curiosity about human life. "I see your world differently now," she conveyed. "I understand more than before. Your people, they care in ways I did not expect. You have something precious, something that can heal even what seems impossible." Elias felt tears prick at his eyes. "You taught me, Sarai. You taught me that healing is not only for the body but for the soul. That listening and empathy can bridge worlds." She shimmered brighter, a soft pulse of silver and gold light. "And you have taught me to see humanity not as fragile, but as capable of incredible connection. I carry that with me." Days passed and their connection grew stronger. Elias discovered he could sense subtle changes in the fracture's light and energy, responding to Sarai's moods. He began adjusting his experiments not just for research, but to maintain the harmony she had created. The station staff noticed the change too. The fracture, once unpredictable, now pulsed with a soft stability. Equipment that had previously malfunctioned now operated smoothly. Even the plants in the garden dome grew faster, healthier, as if the calm energy of the bridge radiated through the entire station. Elias realized something profound: compassion, patience, and understanding, the qualities he had shared with Sarai, were not just human virtues. They could shape reality itself. One afternoon, the communications console beeped with an incoming message. It was a transmission from Earth, humanity's scientific council. They had been monitoring the fracture remotely. "Dr. Wren," the message began, "your work has resulted in a previously unseen stabilization of the interdimensional bridge. Energy readings indicate constant balance. We recommend continued observation. The implications for human knowledge and interstellar collaboration are extraordinary." Elias smiled quietly. "It is because of her," he said softly. "Because of her guidance and trust." Sarai pulsed faintly in acknowledgement, her energy a gentle glow on the observation screens. Though she could not take physical form, her presence was as real to him as the sunlight that danced across the station walls. That evening, Elias returned to the observation deck alone. The fracture shimmered with soft rhythmic light, and he felt Sarai's presence in every pulse. "Will you come back?" he asked, knowing the answer might be complex. Her response was warm and steady. "I am always here. Not as before, but as I must be. Between worlds, my existence is free, but you carry the echo of my care and I carry yours. That is enough." Elias nodded, feeling a peace he had never known. The pain of loss, once sharp and heavy, had softened into understanding. He realized that true connection does not depend on physical presence. It lives in memory and thought and care. He turned his gaze back to the stars, letting the silence of space and the hum of the fracture wrap around him. In that quiet, he felt not loneliness but companionship, a bond that transcended worlds. Over the following months, Elias continued his work with renewed purpose. He documented everything Sarai had taught him, from the subtleties of energy flow to the hidden potential of human empathy. Other scientists began to notice the changes at Epsilon Lyrae 4. Instruments recorded harmonized energy patterns, plants flourished beyond expectation, and the fracture remained stable, a constant light between worlds. Elias knew the truth, though. The fracture had not been stabilized by technology alone. It had been stabilized by understanding, by kindness, by the quiet bond between one human and one being from another world. And somewhere, beyond the bridge of light, Sarai watched, guiding without interference, free yet connected, reminding him and humanity of what was possible when compassion became a bridge between worlds. One evening, as Elias watched the sunset from the observation deck, a soft glow appeared at the edge of the fracture. Not solid, not fully visible, but unmistakable. She was there again. Her presence was like a whisper carried on light, full of warmth and calm. It was not her body nor her voice, yet it was unmistakably Sarai. Elias smiled, feeling the echo of their connection fill the room. "You are free," he said softly. "And I am," Grateful. Her glow pulsed brighter as if in answer. And you have grown. Not just in knowledge, but in heart. That is the true gift of humanity. You heal, you care. You bridge. Elias felt tears fill his eyes. He understood now. The fracture, Sirai, and even himself. None of it existed for power or conquest. It existed for connection, for understanding, for the quiet strength of empathy. As the sun dipped behind the distant horizon of Epsilon Lyrae IV, Elias stood silently, watching the fracture shimmer in silver and gold. He felt Sirai's presence surrounding him, not trapped, not bound, but free. Somewhere between worlds they existed together, not as two beings divided by space, not as two beings lost, but as two souls who had learned the power of care. The fracture glowed softly, steady and alive, a reminder that light could heal, that understanding could endure, and that the echo of empathy could remain. Forever, Elias whispered into the quiet room. You taught me to treat more than wounds. You taught me to heal worlds. And in the shimmer of the fracture he felt her answer, a pulse of light soft and certain as if saying, yes, always.